Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Genshin Impact review, character review series, where we take a look at each character and give my opinions on them and review them. So then, today's subject is Barbara. She's the fourth character you can get for absolutely free. The only thing you need to do is like open the events menu and just claim the character. So that's why she is next on the list. And yeah, she is an okay character, and her role is like only being a healer, of course. So this one might be a bit short, but there is a few things to actually talk about Barbara that makes her pretty nice. That like makes her a pretty good character, I must say, for just being a healer. And yeah, I mean, let's get on with it. Why don't we? Starting off with her normal attacks. They are these like splashes of water that are just splashes of water, really. She belongs in the category of catalysts that have these sort of instant things, these splashes of an element, because the other category is catalyst users that have projectiles. They throw some sort of thing at enemies. But yeah, nothing really to say about her attacks. The only thing is that she does suffer from something that that catalyst users have with their charged attacks, where there's sort of like a bug buffer or something that makes it so you can't really chain charged attacks back to back with normal attacks and such. Like, you will be spamming the charge attack button, you'll be holding the attack button to charge attack, and then she will just be sitting there doing nothing, not understanding that you're like issuing an input of an attack. It's a bit strange, and I don't know if you can consider it a bug or something. Every catalyst user has this, but hey, it doesn't really affect Barbara, if I'm honest, but just wanted to mention it. Then we move on to her elemental skill, which is this like sort of ring of notes, this circle of notes. What this does is that it stays on the active character, and while this is active, Barbara's hits will actually regenerate health for herself and the whole party. And if you do a charge attack, it will actually do like 4 times the healing. But you should be a bit careful because you don't want to waste your stamina doing charge attacks with Barbara out, because she's a healer. She's a bit fragile, let's say, because people usually just have her at a low level, because it doesn't really need to be high level. So she can die, so you should keep your stamina high so that you can dodge attacks. What this skill also does is that like periodically it will like sort of like pulse. It would do a bit of an effect and heal the active character. So yeah, I mean, that's it. It just heals the character that is active without Barbara needing to be on the field and dealing hits. So that's nice. What it also does when it does this pulse thingy, this heal thingy, is that it applies the wet status on your character and also on enemies that come in contact with these nodes. And yeah, it is usually used to cleanse effects. So in domains and the spiral abyss, you'll encounter like different sort of elemental effects that, debuff you, like the electro effect, which drains your energy. But you can use this thing to actually cleanse it, because you'll cause a reaction on your character, because you'll have hydro and electro applied on you, so you'll cause a electro-charged reaction, and you'll actually cleanse the debuff. So it is useful for that, but it also can harm you, because you will apply wet on yourself and you can get hit by a cryo attack from an enemy and freeze the active character. Or they can if you get attacked by a pyro attack, you'll get vaporized, and you'll actually get that attack will deal extra damage to you, because that's how vaporize works. Apparently this thing also supposedly deals damage, but I've never ever seen this skill deal damage. I don't know about you, I've never seen it do that. There's also the second ascension talent that is tied to this ability, which is when the active character gains an elemental particle, so that is usually through hitting enemies or using your elemental skills. What it does is that if the character gets an orb or particle, you will extend the duration of the skill for a maximum of 5 extra seconds. So that's nice. And also you'll actually, when this thing is active, when the skill is active, through the first Ascension talent, you get a bit of a stamina consumption reduction. So it does help a bit with, using charge attacks with Barbara, but it's 12%, and it's not that much. If at some point in the game we get more stamina, it will be a bit more useful. But yeah, the skill is good. It's really nice. Moving on to her burst, it's this sort of like rain thingy that she does. Its only effect is that it just heals. It heals Barbara, and it also heals all of the party. It's a pretty big heal. And yeah, it does have an 80 energy cost, so you might not be using it as much as you might think, unless you have some other Hydro character to generate particles for Barbara on your party. So yeah, I mean, the only thing that I wish this ability did is because it's, you see the animation and the whole like rain thingy, and you're like, why doesn't this apply Hydro to enemies? And I really wish it did that. Like, why doesn't it apply Hydro to enemies? If it did that, it would have been a nice bonus to the ability, I must say. But yeah, I mean, that's Barbara's kit, really. It's made for a healer, and she does a pretty good job at being a healer. She's not the best healer, but this is pretty much a healer. I want to mention, before we move on to artifacts and weapons, I want to mention something on her constellations, which is her 6th constellation, so the hardest one to get. A lot of people will mention it, and yeah, it's that every 15 minutes, that's a pretty long time, so every 15 minutes, if a party member dies, Barbara would actually revive them with full HP. And yeah, it's a nice, it sounds pretty broken if you have her at C6, but the thing is that, people will mention it that it's useful for the Abyss, because in the Abyss you can't use foods to revive a character. But the thing is that having a character killed in the Abyss is too much of a DPS and time waste that you just cannot risk a character dying, even if Barbara is gonna revive them. The whole animation for the character to die and then get revived is just too long. You just lose too much of your time having the character die. Like, if a character dies in the Abyss, it's an immediate restart. And I actually do have Barbara as a C6 because she was in every freaking banner that I wanted to roll for a character, and I did use her for like 2 Abyss resets, and I never, ever had a character die. Her healing is just too much, and again, I was also very careful to just not waste my time with a character dying, that this effect just never went off. So it's sort of like, in theory it's good, but practically in action, you'll never use it. So yeah, that's why I wanted to mention it, is that a lot of people are like, her C6 is so powerful, but then you actually play with the 6/6 and you see that you're not using it. So yeah, so let's move on to artifact sets. So before 1.5, you would have used a 4-piece Maiden's Beloved. But now, after 1.5, we're at 1.6 now, and soon to 2.0, they introduced the Tenacity of the Millilith set, which increases your HP. The 2-piece set is a 20% HP increase. And so now I would suggest that the build for Barbara is a 2-piece Maiden's Beloved for the healing bonus, and then a 2-piece Tenacity of the Millilith for the extra HP. Why the extra HP is that all of Barbara's healing is based on her max HP, so increasing her HP means that it increases her healing, and it's extra HP, so she also stays alive if she is hit by anything. So yeah, I mean, that's nice. So yeah, I mean that's the only real artifact combination I would suggest. You can go for a four-piece Maiden's Beloved, but to be honest, I think that the Maiden's Beloved set is actually sort of a trap. It's extremely useless. Let's be honest. It's only used for someone like Barbara, and now with the Inazuma live stream done, we actually know that there's a set coming out, an artifact set coming out, which its two-piece bonus is extra energy recharge. So perhaps people will start ditching the Maiden's Beloved set completely and go for something like a two-piece Tenacity of the Millilith and two-piece of this new set, so that you have extra energy recharge, so that you get more of your ult, and you get the max HP from Tenacity of the Millilith, so you're still increasing your healing. So you don't need more healing. Barbara heals a lot, a freaking lot. So yeah, I think Maiden's Beloved is gonna get dropped once Inazuma comes out. Unless you're like... And actually, no, I was gonna say that you don't want to farm this set, but this set is actually gonna be useful on a lot of characters. So your like trash artifacts and HP percent artifacts that nobody's gonna use, well, Barbara is gonna use them, because all of her artifacts, her circlet, her goblet, and her sands are HP percent. You want as much HP as you can get on Barbara, so that she can heal as much as possible. Don't go for a healing bonus circlets, though. Those are a trap. I must say, those are definitely a trap compared to just raw HP percent. So yeah, I mean that's for artifact sets. For weapons, there aren't that many. She's a healer, and because many of the catalysts and such are built for DPSs, she just can't use many. So for 5 stars, there's nothing. For 5 stars, there's nothing. All of the 5-star catalysts are built for DPSs, not supports. So she can't really use any of them. The base attack won't help you because her healing scales off of HP, not attack. There is actually one 3-star weapon that people use, which is the Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers, because it gives HP percent, so it increases her healing. And also, its effect is pretty nice. Since it's a 3-star, you can easily get it to R5. And what it does is that whenever you switch off of Barbara, which is the character equipped with the weapon, you'll increase the attack of the character that you switched to. So if you switch from Barbara to your DPS, that DPS is gonna have extra attack, which is nice. It's nice, but I don't know, it's this sort of like mentality that people have, that they just don't want to use 3-star weapons because they feel like they're completely useless. It's a pretty good effect. I must say it's a pretty good effect. But if you have the mentality of, I don't want to use 3-star weapons, then sure, don't use Thrilling Tales. What you can use then for 4-star weapons. There's the Favonius Codex, which gives energy recharge and generates energy through its effect, which is pretty useful. For Barbara, it's more bursts, so more like of that massive healing that her burst does. So I say the Favonius Codex is a nice option. There's also the prototype Amber, which also gives HP percent like the Thrilling Tales, and it gives more HP because it's a 4-star weapon. And its effect is all about generating energy and HP after you use your burst. So it's literally a weapon built only for Barbara. Only built for Barbara. Like, it's clearly made for Barbara. So yeah, if don't like refine it, because it is a prototype weapon, so you're gonna need billets, the prototype billets. Refinement, like use it once, like build one of these. Don't like go R5 or even R2 on it. You don't need it for Barbara. Others, I mean, there isn't much for other 4-star weapons that really suit Barbara. There is the Sacrificial Fragments, actually. It gives elemental mastery, so it's not really useful for anything, but its effect is that it resets the elemental skill cooldown whenever that elemental skill deals damage. As we mentioned before, like, Barbara's skill supposedly deals damage. I've never seen it deal damage I've never seen it deal damage at all. But I've tried sacrificial fragments on her, and it actually works. I used it on the Abyss, and it actually works even if I'm not like close to an enemy. I literally do not know how her skill deals damage. I would guess it's supposedly when enemies come in contact with this circle of nodes, but I've literally seen the skill like reset its cooldown when I'm far away from enemies. So yeah, sacrificial fragments works on her skill, and if you have a high refinement of sacrificial fragments, it means that the reset cooldown for the weapon's effect is 16 seconds. So every 16 seconds, it can reset the skill cooldown. And with Barbara, what happens is that her skill does have a very high cooldown, it has 32 seconds, but the uptime of the skill can be up to like 20 seconds. So technically, the cooldown of her skill is 12 seconds. So if you have a sacrificial fragments at a high refinement rank, so that's R4 to R5, you can actually have Barbara's skill 100% up, because what happens is that you use the skill resets its cooldown, you don't use the reset, the duration starts for the skill, it like goes on for like 15, 16 plus seconds because of her extra ascension talent, and its natural duration, which is 15 seconds, and then once the duration is done, well, Sacrificial Fragments has reset its own cooldown, and you just use the ability again, it resets, it's just an endless cycle of elemental skills, and I think that you can really use Sacrificial Fragments really well with Barbara, again, on high refinement. Else, the Prototype Amber is a bit of a better option, Favonius Codex and the Thrilling Tales, they're also pretty good options. I think that, do you have other Catalyst users that need these weapons? I mean, nobody's gonna use Thrilling Tales on a elemental support or DPS, but like if you have someone that actually uses the Favonius Codex, then don't use it, use another one. Do you have some other character that is using these sacrificial fragments, then don't use it on Barbara, use it on someone else. That's the situation, and also based on the weapons you have, because if you weren't lucky and you don't have any Favonius Codexes or any sacrificial fragments or even any Thrilling Tales, then you're stuck with the Prototype Amber. And yeah, that's it. That's Barbara's kit, and those are the artifacts and weapons she can use. And yeah, she's a healer. She does her job. As a healer, she does her job. And in something like the Spiral Abyss, where you usually do need 2 healers, I think that many people just go with their normal healer, which they have built quite a lot, and then Barbara just to heal. She's an okay character. Again, healer, just pure healing, and she does her job. She actually fulfills her job of being a healer. And yeah, that's it. That is it from me. Hope you enjoyed. Next up is Noelle. Hope to see you then.